Hey guys, this is Bryan with JPW talking today about winning in multiple offers, how to get offers accepted in a really challenging market. As of the filming of this video, it's April 2022 and we're in one of the most competitive markets that we've ever seen for buyers. And so a lot of our agents are asking me, how do we get this done? How do we get offers accepted in a market like this? And today I just want to give you a few general principles that have worked really well for me. I've had a lot of success in this market. 6 out of my last 7 clients, I've gotten the offer accepted on the first try, and on the 7th we got it accepted on the second try once my client decided to listen to me. And I've also been on the listing side of over 500 transactions, and so I have a sense of what listing agents are looking for when they're receiving offers from buyers agents. So that's what we're going to cover today. So the first step in getting an offer accepted is making sure that you've got a strong relationship with a reputable, preferably local lender, someone who you know knows what they're doing. Now, oftentimes, a buyer is going to work with a lender that we already have a relationship with, that we already trust, that we already know, we know how they function, we know that they're going to get the job done. But sometimes a buyer picks their own lender, maybe someone who we haven't worked with before. And even in those situations, it's vital that you as the buyer's agent have a good working relationship with that lender and really understand what the client can do with their financing. I'd say that it's important for you to understand what your client's how your client's financing works even better than your client does. You need to understand how creative they can be, how flexible they can be, where they can move money around, what options do you have when you're structuring this offer. I also want to know that the loan officer knows their client's financing really well. I want to know that they understand that they've collected all of the documents, that they've run them through underwriting, and that they know that this is a slam dunk, so that when I'm talking to the listing agent, I can assure the listing agent that this is a slam dunk. But one of the most important things that I want to understand and see when I'm working with a loan officer that I haven't worked with before is how they're going to communicate with the listing agent, which kind of leads me to my second point. When you're making an offer on a property and you want it to be the offer that gets to the top of the list, that phone call to the listing agent from the loan officer is one of the most important pieces of the puzzle, and it doesn't happen as often as you'd think. Loan officers don't always understand that it's their responsibility to call the listing agent and give them some sense of the buyer's qualifications and give them assurance that this is going to be a smooth, easy, relatively stress-free transaction. One of the things we need to keep in mind when we're working with buyers is that as we make this offer, we don't actually get to talk to the seller. We only get to talk to the seller's agent. And while the seller's agent obviously cares about how much money the seller makes and the terms and things like that, one of the most important things to the listing agent is that this is going to be a smooth, relatively stress-free process for them and for their client. Because if it's not, it reflects badly on them. And a good phone call from a loan officer can give them that assurance that this is going to be a smooth, easy transaction. One of the things I do when I haven't worked with the loan officer before is I ask them. I ask them to do a little bit of role play and tell me exactly what they're going to say when they call a listing agent. We'll just say, hey, I'm the listing agent, you're the loan officer. You know, you've got your client. Tell me, let's do a little role play here on the phone. What do you say to listing agents when you call them? Because I just want to get a sense that they're going to come across as professional and confident and know what they're talking about. I can tell you from recent experience that I've had loan officers call me before and they make kind of general statements. Yeah, these guys are really well qualified. I don't have any concerns, blah, blah, blah. But they don't say anything specific that I can take to my client as a listing agent and say, here's the loan officer said, I think this financing is a slam dunk. Because that's what I want ultimately as a listing agent. I want to know that this financing is going to be a slam dunk and it's not going to cause me problems in the transaction down the line. I was actually in a multiple offer situation this year on a $1 million property where I was one of 6 offers. And after we won the deal, the listing agent called and told me that my loan officer was the only loan officer that called him to talk about his buyer's qualifications. So maybe it goes without saying that your loan officer needs to call that listing agent and communicate your buyer's qualifications, but it doesn't go without saying. Make sure that your loan officer is going to have that good, productive, professional conversation with the listing agent. The second step in making sure that your offer is going to be competitive is your phone call to the listing agent. Now, this phone call serves a couple of purposes. The first one, of course, is that you're seeking information. You want to understand what kind of offer the seller is going to prefer. Are there any terms that are particularly important to them? Is there a price that would get it done tonight? I like to ask that question. Where would they like to have flexibility in the offer? Would it be convenient to the seller to have a rent back anywhere? Is there any personal property that they want to leave or that they want to take with them? Are there any terms other than price that would make your offer extremely competitive to the seller? But the second thing that's so crucial in this conversation is making sure that you make yourself likable. I can't overemphasize this. You have to remember that listing agents aren't robots, and they like to do business with people that they like. And so if you can humanize yourself a little bit, tell a story about your buyer, make them laugh, just develop a little bit of rapport on the phone, that helps get your offer the inside track. The third step in making sure that your offer is competitive is writing a clean offer. And I mean clean in two different ways. Number one, I mean literally clean. Don't have boxes unchecked. Don't have blanks left unfilled. Don't have missing signatures. It is a listing agent's biggest pet peeve if they have to call the buyer's agent back and say, what did you mean to put in this blank? Was this box supposed to be checked? You're missing a signature over here. And it probably goes without saying, but no handwriting offers unless your handwriting is pristine. If your handwriting looks like mine, never handwrite an offer. Type that out. Make sure that it's very, very easy for the listing agent to get the information from the offer that they need to present the offer to their client in a very clean way. But the second thing I mean by clean is to have as few contingencies as possible. Now, the big debate in our current market right now is the inspection contingency. What do we do with that? I've had an inspection contingency on every offer I've gotten accepted this year, and I'll tell you the exact script that I use to make sure this happens. I'll call the listing agent and I'll say, hey, have you talked to your seller about how they feel about inspection contingencies? I think that inspections are a good idea for both buyer and seller. I think it protects both parties. It helps the buyer make sure that there's no $20,000 repair looming out there, and it protects the seller as well by relieving them from some of the liability that's going to come along with filling out that disclosure perfectly. And so if you're open to it, I would suggest a 2 or 3 day inspection period, pass, fail. We just want to make sure that there's no $20,000 problems looming out there. And I have yet to have a listing agent tell me that their client is unwilling to do that. But of course, the inspection contingency isn't the only contingency in a purchase agreement. We also have to think about the financing contingency. Just about every offer that you're going to submit, unless it's cash, is going to have a financing contingency. But it's important to use the written statement clause in the purchase agreement so that the listing agent has some confidence that the loan officer is not going to be waiting to the last minute to make sure that everything's done and squared away. If your purchase agreement has a contingent on successful closing clause, one of the most important things you need to do is to communicate with the listing agent and let them know exactly where that house is in its process as well. Supply the buyer's agent's contact information for that property. Supply the loan officer's contact information for that property. Perhaps even have the loan officer for the buyer who's purchasing your client's house call the listing agent of the property that you're trying to buy so that that loan officer can talk a little bit to the listing agent about that buyer's qualification and give them some confidence that this whole process, this whole chain of dominoes is going to be nice and smooth and stress-free. The fourth step in making sure that you're submitting an offer that's going to be competitive is how you actually submit it. When you send that offer over to the listing agent, make sure that you're sending a cover email. This cover email can do a couple of things. Number one, it can reiterate what the terms are. Give them a sense of what's in the purchase agreement. What's the purchase price? What's the closing date? Where can your client be flexible and where can't they be? And ask them if there's anything else the seller needs to make this a slam dunk offer for your buyer. But it also gives you another opportunity to make yourself likable, to humanize yourself and your buyer a little bit. So be professional, be kind, be funny, be positive, be optimistic. Tell the agent that you're excited to work with them. These are all things, again, that help your offer just get the inside track for your buyer. Now, after you've sent over that email, it's vital that you text or call the listing agent to make sure, number one, that the offer got there. You don't want this offer that you worked so hard on ending up in the spam folder and they never even see it. But second of all, to communicate with the listing agent, once again, how excited you are to work with them, how excited the buyers are about this house, and to let them know if there's anything in the offer that the seller doesn't like, please let us know so that we can adjust it. We want to make this deal a win for your sellers. All right, the last step in making a competitive offer is maybe the most difficult one, and that is the question of what are we going to offer? Now, this is very situation specific, and in this market, that number could be just about anything, but here's a few factors that go into my thinking on what to have a client offer on a property. First of all, I need to do a CMA. While I want to get my client a win, I want to get them the house that they want, it's vital for me because I'm also a fiduciary to my client. I have a responsibility to my client to make sure that I'm helping them make smart financial moves. So doing a CMA to give them a sense of what I think fair market value is crucial. Now, that said, it's also worth talking to the listing agent to ask them what kind of activity they have, how many offers do they have, how far above listing price in this kind of market do we need to go to be competitive. That's an important piece of the puzzle. Talking to your client, of course, is an important piece of the puzzle. How aggressive do they feel comfortable going? If I think that the home is worth $420 and it looks like it's going to take $440 or $450 to win it, do they feel comfortable about that? Do they feel good about that? You have to make sure that this win is actually going to feel like a win. And even then, if you're not quite sure what it's going to take, it's always smart to ask another agent who's gotten offers accepted already in this market. What do they think? Give them all the details. How many offers are there? What's the house? What do you think it's worth? And ask another agent or a couple of agents, what do you think it's going to take to get this deal done? And that can help give you some more data points as well to figure out exactly what you're going to put on that purchase agreement. So that's my approach to getting offers accepted and winning in multiple offers in this market. I hope this was valuable for you. And of course, I'm always willing to sit down and talk with you one-on-one if I can help you strategize on how to get your next offer accepted.